welcome back to the Fixing Football podcast with me, Martin Naylor, and we are here. We're finally here at the end of the season. Thank the Lord. I, for one, am happy that the Premier League is over. Obviously, it didn't go to plan for Arsenal this season, but one team who it could sort of go to plan for is Chelsea, and that's why I'm joined by my brother, Scott Naylor. Scott, how are you doing, mate?
I'm very, very well. Much better after now that the season's over. I can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. The pressure's off-ish, and I can kind of look forward to what hopefully caps off the season on a high. So yeah, kind of similar feelings to you, I think.
Yeah. There was a point I was going to make about Chelsea, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. First of all, before we go any further and we talk about the season, we've got to speak about Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah.
Obviously, so we're recording this on Tuesday at the moment. So there's still a lot of details to come out. I'm sure everyone has seen and heard the news that what went on during the title parade. And without going into too much detail, because I don't think that helps anyone, I think it's just best that everyone just sends their wishes for everyone who was injured during that events that took place, the car getting through that crowd, and the horrific circumstances around it aren't as important as them being well and alive. So I think that's the only thing that people need to be worried about really at the moment. You agree?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things. It's easy to sort of keep your football head on with it being sort of attached to a football celebration, but it's the only thing that really matters is that the people who got hurt are okay. From as far as I'm aware, no one was too seriously hurt. I think maybe one or two people quite seriously injured, but I think by and large the worst was avoided. And all you can do is hope that everyone makes a very speedy recovery, and yeah, you just never see something like that again because it's just awful.
Absolutely. I work around there a lot. It's right near where I park when I work in Liverpool
City
Centre, and like that street, Water Street. And so I was looking like, Jesus Christ, it's gone straight past there. And you could see, I watched one of Calvin Harris's videos because he was on the buzz with the team. And I was like, I parked there. And then you'd seen where all the traffic had gone after. So I was very close to home. I like gigging in Liverpool. I love it around there. So, yeah, hope everyone's all right and gets through it. And everything is sorted out in terms of justice. So yeah. I think that's best to leave it at that. But like I said, Scott, we're recording this on Tuesday. People might not listen to this. So on the day of the final, and as so this will be going out the morning of the Europa Conference League final for Chelsea. So I don't know if you either want to record two intros or we just say well done to the victorious team. Congratulations, commiserations. Wasn't it great when that guy did that thing to win the game for that team? I'm just trying to think of some vague sentences here we can fit in.
Yeah, this could be like one of those interactive films that you get where you like you take a path and you get a different ending. Because it could either be a very routine and it's something that I'll touch on when we get properly stuck into it. It could be either be a very routine day at the office or it could be a little bit of an embarrassment. It's one extreme to the other.
Yeah, right. So you mentioned a good word, embarrassment then. Something that was embarrassing for maybe me and you, annoying, frustrating, but Tottenham Hotspur of all teams are now European trophy winners.
Yeah.
Like, how are we alive in a time when this has happened? You know what? Part of me doesn't begrudge Tottenham winning this because they've been so bad. The final is almost comical.
Yeah.
In terms of the matchup, we spoke with Luke about it last week, but it was a horrific matchup in terms of quality. If you imagine the two 16th and 17th place teams in La Liga going for it, you'd be calling it a farce.
Yeah, 100%. And do you know what I likened it to? It kind of reminded me of any time I've tried to dip into the UFC and I've tried to get into it. And every time I happen to tune in, the fights are boring. Everyone's just clinching, just rolling around. Like nothing good ever happens when I watch it. So it kind of got me like, if this was the first time you'd ever watched a game of football and that's what you tuned into, you'd be like, yeah, I don't see what the fuss is about with this. Because it was absolutely terrible.
So for the sake of my mental sanity and WhatsApp status, I'm more glad that Spurs won. I really did think Man United were going to win. But I really did think Man United were going to win. They did not turn up. And I think it was a terrible game of football to watch, but I think Man United were especially bad. and seriously didn't turn up. And I think we've seen the fallout from it since then with statements from Amarin and obviously the stuff that all the players have come out. Luke Shaw, Garnacho has been using his family as a mouthpiece again. And Bruno said, well, if the club want to move on from me, then that's fine.
Yeah.
There's lots of big statements coming out from Man United. And I think they were really relying on that money. And Amarim's come out and said that that they had two plans. I think I think there is the plan or there is no plan, and we continue to move forward in this struggle thing that we're going on, and we keep fudging it until we get a big influx of money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're hoping for. That let's talk about Man United for a minute before we give Spurs any flowers that they half deserve.
Yes, push that down the road as long as we can.
So, yeah, talk to me what you're thinking about Man United at the moment, where they're at now following this loss.
It's hard to really describe just how big that was for both teams, that game, after the season that they've had. But in particular, Man United, because there's just such massive expectation on this club. They're the first ones to tell you, fans, staff, whoever's associated with the club, that Man United is the biggest thing in football. It doesn't get any bigger than Man United, is what they'll all tell you. So in a game where they've had an embarrassing, for lack of a better term, Premier League season, where they've not turned up. I think it's maybe in the top 5 worst domestic campaigns they'd ever had.
Yeah.
Like in the United history.
Ever.
Yeah. Not even just certainly the worst Premier League when you go back right through United's history. It's a campaign for the ages, but in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
So I think that the magnitude of this loss can't really be understated for Man United, in the sense that, like you said, that money, that was kind of the only thing that would have kept them kind of on track for any kind of rebuild that they had, in terms of the revenue that they need to generate, the players that they can attract on the back of it. And now you're stuck in, there's now a bit of inevitably, any team that misses out on Europe that's expected to get it starts to spin without Europe, you can focus on the league, you can do this, that, and the other. And teams for years, as long as we've been growing up, have done both. The top teams play in Europe and they do all right in the league. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to see that narrative. But yeah, I think where they go from here is, it's like those things where you see, like, you look over on this part of the crossroad, with a little fork in the road. To the right, you've got the rainbows and the castle and the Tweety birds, and over here,
exactly,
the bare trees and the lightning, and it's just like
scary forest and happy.
Yeah, what's going to happen to them? And I'm struggling to even see a positive way forward for them, because even changing the manager mid-season somehow made them worse, which doesn't tend to happen very often either.
They lost 18 games in the league. And we'll get on to Spurs in a minute, because they're like
staggering,
stressing me out, this Spurs thing. But the thing is with Man United is we know Jim Ratcliffe had come out and spoken about the budget, and they were going to be cash poor in December if they didn't do X, Y, and Z and sack all the dinner ladies and make a load of lollipop ladies redundant and stuff like that. All these poor people. They got Luke Shaw, who's missed 5 years of a 10-year career at Man United, just sitting around there on a couple $100,000 a week. They will not have budgeted for no European football.
No, they may have gone, like, they may have had a Champions League and a Europa League budget, perhaps.
Yeah.
But...
So when you forecast that, this also applies to Spurs, because despite how well run they are, they will not have budgeted anywhere close to missing out on a potential, not just what could be £100 million from next year's Champions League, but even just the place in the league. Yeah. Whereas Man United may have been guaranteed themselves 8th is a terrible season for Man United generally.
Yeah.
Now the 15th, 16th, you're missing out on probably about 50 million quid just there.
Yeah.
Just in terms of where you finish in the Premier League. Yeah,
the prize money from the Premier League, and I think as well, and I think Man United probably are one of the main culprits affected by this, is things like the Adidas sponsorship will probably start to be pared back based on poor performance. If they get in the Champions League, they get a big boost and everyone's happy, but Adidas will, fair enough, try and claw some of that money back if the results on the pitch aren't good enough. It's
I'm
going to hit them
sure.
in so many places.
I'm sure, and I expect a massive expenditure in social media presence when they hit Malaysia in a month's time, and
yeah,
they will be going big on that because then they will need to from preserving their futures. I will say, in terms of silver linings, and other Man United fans and Luke especially have been very vocal about getting shut of anyone. He's not emotionally attached to any of this team now. That he's done.
Yeah,
and I get that from a lot of Man United fans.
Yeah,
they will now have a motive and an incentive to shorten that squad. No, they don't have European football. There is a footballing aspect as well as a financial aspect, but there's a footballing aspect of not having a strong 25-man squad. When realistic, when you're just competing in the Premier League, you need you need a strong 12 and then a decent 5 or 6 more, and that's it. You don't need to be, and then you're struggling if you get hit by injuries, which a lot can, but you can manage it a lot better because you're not having the calendar that the teams in Europe are having.
Yeah.
That is the only silver lining, is where they can be proactive in getting shut of players now because they have to be.
Yeah.
And that is because for me, they are rock bottom now. This is the lowest, despite them being in a European final.
Yeah.
The second that finished was rock bottom, because that could have been having the conversation that I had with Luke in terms of, if Man United win, have they had a better season than the team who's only lost 2 games all season and finished second in the Premier League?
It's one of those, isn't it? It's a weird discussion to have when you're talking about a team who's, in any other year, probably would have been, we might have gone down in any other iteration of the Premier League. Yep. It just so happens that we're in an era where the 3 coming up are so bad that you kind of saved. As long as you kind of just do a bit better than them, you're okay. But I don't think, if we're going to get into that discussion, I don't think you can. I mean, you could argue that if they has one team achieved their objectives and the other hasn't, maybe there's an argument for that. But 18 Premier League losses for a club the size of Man United, the biggest club in the world, we're told, is just completely unforgivable.
It's crazy that and I didn't want to harp on Man United too much, so I wanted to balance it a little bit both. But it is crazy that Amorim is given this grace to go out and build a team and put his stamp on it, because I can't imagine Gareth Southgate, for example, if he'd have been, say Gareth Southgate had come in, would he have been with this record? And I think Liam put it in our group chat, if Southgate, oh no, that was about the England squad, if Southgate had picked the squad.
But he was right, though.
Yeah.
Spot on.
And same if Southgate was the Man United manager with this record, would he be, there would be pitchforks at the gates of Old Trafford.
God.
It would be,
he'd be going fucking mental. They would be losing their mind. They'd want him out straight away. And yeah, I don't know what it is about Amorim that he's got. I mean, I don't think it's wrong to say, give him a full season, a full transfer window to sign who he wants and get rid of who he doesn't want. I don't think that's flawed logic, but it would still worry me that when they sacked Ten Hag, they were 4 or 5 points off the Champions League ish. I don't think it was that much behind that. They weren't that far off, and now they've ended 30 odd points behind 5th. It's just, I don't know how he's made them worse, but he's made them so much worse. He's not even he's not improved a single player. And usually you see that. You see some players, a new manager comes in, they're the new flavour of the month.
Some gravitate and some go the other way.
Yeah, exactly. And they've all just fucked off. Yeah. I don't understand.
They're all like, what's this guy doing? Every one of them are like looking at the new teacher in school like, nah, not having it.
This guy's a knob. Don't get it.
Well, that goes on to Man United. Let's have 1 minute on Spurs. I hate that Spurs have won a European trophy. I hate that they've won anything at all. I don't like them. I think they're a loser club.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
Dave and Ange's come out with some cold moments these last couple of weeks. Some of his quotes are now, again, like the Man United hitting rock bottom at the full whistle.
Yeah.
Ange's gone from absolute idiot buffoon loser to ice cold killer. Like,
yeah, it pissed me off so much because my ethos in life is like, if you're going to chat shit, but if you can back it up, then you're cool.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. That's why I always like Mourinho, because no matter how much of a prick he was, he just backed it up with trophies. And it's like, right, okay, I can't even chat to this guy. As soon as that whistle went, I was like, and I'll say this publicly, Ange, if you listen, you are a terrible, terrible manager. You are awful, and your tactics are shocking. And I've said it from day one. You are a bit inept in the Premier League, but you are an absolute G for saying, I always win things in my second year. Slaps a trophy on the fucking table, and I think he should just quit. I think you just put that trophy in down, you leave his office.
Absolutely.
Said, right, see you later. I'm out of here.
I totally agree. What do I think of Spurs now? I'm going to ask you. So I asked Luke this question about Man United if they've had a better season than Arsenal, and this is a common argument that has been going on in the media over the last couple of weeks. So either of them teams, really, if anyone who wins a trophy, have they had a better season than basically the top team who hasn't won a trophy? And where do you sit on that? Because I do have one point I'm going to make, but I want to hear your opinion first.
I'm sort of in a 50-50 camp, because on one hand, you could argue that Spurs' objective when this season began was probably getting the Champions League. That was probably what they were tasked with. And he's done it. He's kind of, no matter how he's done it, he's made it happen. And Arsenal's objective was to win the Premier League. And if you'd have said at the beginning of the season you didn't know anybody else's place, but City are going to finish third, you'd have been like, oh my God, like, yes, this is it. This is the moment. And it just didn't happen. So I think on one hand, you could say one team's achieved their goal and the other hasn't. But I think we talked about United losing 18 games or whatever it was. I think the Spurs lost 22 league games all season. This is
the point I was going to make. I'm almost certain that Postecoglou has lost more matches this season than Arteta has ever lost as a manager.
That is an amazing stat, if that's true.
Like,
if that's accurate.
I'm almost certain it's accurate. I need to do the maths and I'm going to come back to you. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But that's 22 league games for a start. We only lost 3 last season, 3 this season. Like, we've been finished second 2-3 years in a row. We can't lose that many games.
It's absolutely baffling just how bad they've been. And I just don't think that you can... Okay, they've got some silverware. And for Spurs, that's a big deal. You know, as you said, they're a loser club. Them winning anything is... You saw the crowds that turned out at the parade, and fair play to them. The Spurs came out in numbers for that, but it's because they'll probably never see it again. Like it's like the second coming of Jesus. Like
I hope not.
Yeah, so do I. Because who wants to see Spurs winning anything? And I think the only I guess silver lining for me with Spurs winning it is that if Man United won that trophy and got the Champions League and got all the money that comes with it, I worry more about what Man United might do with that position than what I do with Spurs. Spurs are going to sign like, what's his name? Max Kilman, Semenyo, and someone else. Like, not bad players, but that's what they'll do with it. Whereas Man United might have gone and got, I don't know, might have hijacked Florian Wirtz, so they might have done some. I could see them using their clout to bring in a big name who might just change the game for them. And that, if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm thinking, on one hand, I fucking hate Spurs, but on the other hand, they're almost no threat to us either. So yeah, it's a tough one.
But fair play to them. Fair play to Ange for getting it done.
Yeah,
I respect it. Spurs definitely wanted it more in that final. I could tell, especially as soon as Van der Ven cleared that one off the line. I was like, this game's done now.
Yeah, that's when you know, in that, like, you guys want this. You've got the bit between your teeth. It's happening.
I thought so. Right. Thankfully, that wraps up them. Overriding, let's cleanse ourselves for a second. Season's done. Overriding thoughts of this season. I was listening to Ben Foster's podcast, actually. I had a long drive home last night. Listening to Ben Foster's podcast, and he and his co-presenters were absolutely buzzing. Best Premier League season ever, they were calling it. I mean, I think it's been, and I'm not being disappointed because I missed out on silverware and stuff. Even Liverpool fans might, because they got over the line so early and the relegation was done so soon, and everything in between just seems. The only thing that's gone down to the final day was the Champions League places. which again was another calamity. And we've seen Aston Villa getting a world of shit now with the PGMOL. That's a crazy deal. But I mean, overriding feeling for this Premier League season, I'm a little bit like, nah.
I can't decide if it was a really bad season and it was just the quality had dipped, or if the quality has risen that evenly across the league, that it now makes all the teams who used to be way above everybody else look worse. And
that's true. I do feel like I don't want to say the quality's gone down. I just feel like there's less exciting on the pitch moments. On the pitch moments that everyone's talking about are always decisions, and I hate it. I hate talking about VAR. The refs, despite what other members of this podcast might feel like I like to talk about, it isn't that. And it just feels like them are the moments. It's all off field. It's all money talk. It's all about what people can buy, and I just feel like we're losing players like Trent and Kevin De Bruyne this season who are going to be leaving the Premier League. It's like have your own feelings and tribalism about them. They're special players, and they're just losing. I don't know. I'm a little bit like, and maybe this might be just sour grapes because Arsenal didn't win anything and we didn't do what we needed to do. But I'm trying to look at the Premier League as a whole and think like, has it really? Did it even really feel like it got going this season?
Yeah, it didn't feel like it, did it? And I think you made a good point there about the things that you traditionally want to see. Like the best Premier League seasons have either both of these things or one of them. Are down to the wire relegation battle or a down to the wire title race. They're the two things that you kind of associate with. Oh, what a year that was when so-and-so ran neck and neck all year or whatever you get. Or like when West Brom survived on the last day of the pitch invasion. That's what you remember. And if you don't get that, you then, again, it then feels a bit empty if Liverpool win the league at a canter, which they did. Second, you boys had that sewn up ages ago. So it's kind of like everyone's fighting for the Champions League, which is big, but it's almost like...
It's Chelsea, the Conference League of prizes in terms of a Premier League season.
Yeah, a little bit. So, but then I don't want to then discredit the likes of, like Bournemouth, for example. I thought they were great this year. Fulham, I thought were quite good this year as well. And I don't want to say, oh, the league's worse because the likes of Fulham and Bournemouth are taking points off teams that they weren't used to. Because
I genuinely think that makes it better. That's sort of not what I was getting at. I'm not saying because, one team wasn't absolutely dominant.
Yeah.
Even Liverpool, who, if you look at the record, have been crazy dominant. You never really got that feeling that they were just hammering teams and had that Man City like on top of teams. They were good. They were very good. They were the best team, by at least 10 points.
Yeah. But it's not like the first time they won the Premier League. It wasn't that when they won like the first 24 games or whatever it was.
Exactly,
It was just, absolutely battered everyone out of the water. Like, it wasn't that. So, yeah, I'm a bit conflicted as well. I can't pinpoint it. But, yeah, I think we would be much better served as a fan base if the talking points were a great game, an amazing goal, a class piece of skill, something that isn't just controversy around decisions and, just shit that we're all bored of now. Like, VAR arguments were fun for the first couple of weeks. Fuck me, it's been like 3 years of it now.
Money, ownership, owners. God, how many owners do you hear from all the time?
Yeah.
God, but good points. I want to think that it's obviously not Premier League, but Newcastle and Crystal Palace winning the cups, I think, are the great points of this season.
Yes,
because
I love that.
We haven't seen that. Definitely haven't seen it in our lifetime. A lot of people haven't seen it in their lifetime, and I think that has then made for all these European places. So we're going to see 9 teams in Europe next season. I think that adds a world of difficulty to a lot more teams' calendar.
Yeah.
And therefore some discrepancies in terms of quality again. You might see a Wolves overtake these players because I think Wolves on paper look like a good side and they're right down the bottom.
Yeah.
That gap that we've got now. So we will see. Let's do one more point before we crack on to Chelsea. It's transfer silly season is about to start. What are your hot takes? What are you thinking we've seen? Looking like Liverpool are trying to get some stuff done early. They're not resting on the laurels with bids going in for Florian Wirtz at 100 million and Frimpong arriving today. Kirkez looks like someone who they're very interested in. Mm-hmm. So they're making moves early.
They are. And I think very wisely so. And it's interesting because on this, I saw Todd Bowley, of all people, was interviewed at some like financial convention. It wasn't necessarily to do with football. It was like his business dealings and all that. But naturally, he's most in the spotlight for Chelsea. So it came up. And he said that he was predicting an extremely busy summer for the entire Premier League. He said that this is a year where a lot of clubs are going to be making a lot of investment based on what he's hearing around.
I think so. I think there's going to be urgency. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be big deals done early as opposed to later that we may be more used to. Agreed. Sort of mid to late time is when the bigger deals get done in terms of the time of the transfer window.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the biggest deals are going to be in the first couple of weeks. Yeah. Arsenal look like they are torn on a knife edge between Gyökeres and Šeško as a striker.
What are you leaning towards there? Because I've got some doubts about Gyökeres.
Hey, Andrea Berta, if you're listening, sign both.
That's the right answer, I think. That's the right answer.
Don't sign a winger. Don't worry about any other position. Get both. Right? I think Arsenal have been looking at, from listening to Ornstein and Kieran Maguire and Duncan Castles, Arsenal have been on Šeško's case for about 5 years. He's only 21. He hasn't had the best of seasons, but he had a good end to the season. I think Arteta does not want to let him go in the which is, it seems like it's going to be either or. My advice would be go and get both. For what you're going to spend on another position that we only want to slightly upgrade. Number 9, we need big upgrade. We need big. Get both. Get the now and get the future.
Yeah.
In the same window.
Because Šeško's only what? 21?
He's 21. Yeah.
Yeah. Gyökeres is sort of he's going to be 27, I think, by the time the next league season starts. So
correct. I feel like we're going to get Gyökeres. I feel like, to be honest, it doesn't matter who we sign. Half of the fan base are going to say we should have got this one. Look at as soon as every time Gyökeres or Šeško score next season. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
And get them both for what it seems like they're both allowed to leave for. Leipzig haven't even made any European positions this season.
Oh, have they not?
Oh. So Xavi, their big talents are Xavi Simons and Šeško. Yeah. They're both likely to be off. So you're looking at the best possible time to buy both of these strikers. Don't have any loyalty to Gabby Jesus, who's only going to be back in end of September. We'll deal with him when he comes back, put him on the wing. He can be Saka's backup. We don't need to even think about that guy's name who used to play for City and Liverpool and England, that guy who sort of played for us this season. He doesn't even need to be referenced ever again as an Arsenal player. That's how we can deal with it. Get them both. Stop messing around.
Be a big statement of intent, that, wouldn't it? If Arsenal came and said, right, bang, you say we need a number 9. Here's 2. One guy who can't stop scoring, another guy we hope follows the same trajectory, and that'd be a big. It's a bit like Liverpool with Wirtz, that big, massive money superstar signing. That's kind of your way of doing that, I think.
I think the thing is with it is like football people in inverted commas there might say Šeško is the next big thing. He's got everything, and all these ITKs will be, trust me, he's the one. He's the one.
Yeah.
This is the next big thing. He's the next Haaland. He's the next 50 goal a season striker. And maybe people want to be a bit smart with it and cute with it and build this legacy.
Yeah.
But maybe the right answer is the most obvious one: is get that fucking guy who is shredded. He's 6'4", he's fast as fuck, and he can't stop scoring. He scored 70 odd goals this season. Maybe he's the answer.
Sometimes the obvious answer is the right one.
Yeah, it's like Man City need a striker. They don't bash around the houses. Just go and get Erling Haaland. You know, that giant freak who can't stop scoring. Let's go and get him. I want the other one.
Yeah.
So
don't blame you.
That's right.
Good bit.
Other Arsenal stuff. Zubimendi will be probably announced day of transfer window. I'm gonna deal with that one when it turns up, because I'm unsure of him in terms of physique and how he'll settle in. Talented, but I don't know.
I don't know how true it is, but naturally, you scroll Twitter and you see a new story every 2 minutes. I was seeing something about how Madrid are apparently somehow able to swoop in and get him in some way. I don't know if I don't know if there's any legs to that or any truth, but
because they are pirates of the high transfer seas, and they will stop at nothing to just do what they want.
Do you know what? Real Madrid. How nice would it be to be a fan of Real Madrid? Because it's like you know that if you're linked to a player, you will get them. Like, if you want them, you can have them. There's no there's no convincing. There's no, we've got to pitch our project to this guy. No. Do you want to play for Real Madrid? Obviously, I do. Right. Done.
Right. Watch us lowball the team that you play for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trent, you sure you want to join us? You're going to join us in the summer. You promised that. Right. Well, we're going to see if we can nick you for a bit 6 months earlier, just for 10 million quid. See what happens.
Fucking bastards.
Yeah. I love it. One club that are being linked a lot, and I'm wary of time, is City. And we spoke about this with Liam a couple of weeks ago, but the type of players that they're being linked with, if I was a City fan, I'd be worried about this next phase of Guardiola in terms of who and what is happening and the type of squad that he's building now, especially with who's going as well.
Yeah, the weird. I think the biggest names I've seen is it Yinders, who's AC. I'm probably butchering his name, so apologies.
Yeah, he was named midfielder of the season. They do it in Serie A. They do MVP.
Yeah.
Then striker, defender, midfielder, and attacker in terms of players of the season. And he got the midfielder. McTominay got the eventual MVP.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Crazy. What a guy. I want to do a bit of a Serie A review because I know Liam's watched a lot of it this season, so we might do that over the summer.
Yeah.
Reinders. I'm trying to think who else has been linked.
I saw today they were linked with Ryan Cherky. He's another name linked, and he's been someone that Leon have been trying to farm him out for a little bit. We were looking at him, and then Dortmund were looking at him, and for reasons I'm not quite. I don't know if Leon just needs to raise some money, but I think
Leon do. They are struggling, and they are still potentially awaiting a points deduction.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. So there's stuff to go on there, but we'll see. I think they've got ownership problems as well, and God knows Liam will know more. But yeah, Cherky's I think one who maybe fall into the. I don't want to say Adel Tarabt category, but we're looking at someone who's very talented along them lines. Who Dimitri Payet doesn't quite. There's just something that maybe attitude-wise or temperament-wise that clubs have been a little bit scared of or wary of.
Yeah,
looks like a very talented player though. So
looks class. So it makes you wonder, like, if all these top clubs are watching this kid and can see how good he is and are still looking like maybe we won't. Makes you wonder what is that thing. I think the other alternative that we're missing is Gibbs White. He's the one who seems to be quite
Gibbs White
high on their list.
I'd be interested to see him with Pep because it's not a match that you automatically put together. But no, I really rate Gibbs White as a footballer. I think he's got so much to his game, and he can do that arsehole job as well. He's so in your face. Yeah, big fan. Right, what I want to do is have a quick break, and then we need to speak Chelsea before people fucking make it to kick off. We keep going on. The game will have kicked off. Right, we'll catch you all in a few minutes. Bye. And we are back. And as you're listening to this, tonight is the Europa Conference League final. It makes me sick even saying it, Scott. So, what I want to speak to you about is Chelsea and their chances. Let's say Chelsea go on. I mean, Chelsea are overriding favourites for this. So that's fair to say. Hopefully you listen to this pre-match. So a lot of this is going to make sense. But talk to me about your feelings about this competition, what winning it means. I mean, because now you have Champions League confirmed regardless.
Yeah.
Is there as much riding on this as what it was a week ago? and just your overall thoughts about it in general in the match.
Yeah. So, a few sort of facets to it. So, I think first and foremost, I set out probably in our predictions episode that my bare minimum for Chelsea this year was top 4 or Champions League qualification is what that meant, but it was top 4 in the end, and winning this cup. And winning this cup's a bit of a thankless task for Chelsea because we shouldn't be in it. We came 6th last year, and we were only dropped into this because United scabbed an FA Cup win over still hungover Manchester City by the looks of it. So we kind of got dumped in this a bit unceremoniously. And you look at some of the play. I mean, not even so much some of the players we've got. I'll get to that in a moment. But you think of Chelsea, the brand, the club. It shouldn't really be in a competition like this. So it's one of those, like, if you win it, you get no thanks because it's, oh, well, you should be winning that because it's a Mickey Mouse Cup, basically.
Yeah.
And if you don't win it, it's an embarrassment. I don't even want to look at Twitter for about a month if we don't win that game. So overriding thoughts about the competition. I actually went to Stamford Bridge and watched one of these games in our group stage, or in the league phase rather. And the quality of the opposition is not great. I'll be the first one to say there's a handful of teams in the competition that are okay.
I mean, I think just on that, I think there was probably 3 good teams in it with yourselves, Betis and Fiorentina.
Yeah.
Them 2 met in the other semi-final.
Yeah.
Like
this was like when Spurs had Bodo Glimt and United had Bilbao. It was exactly like that. It was exactly the same structure. And we ended up with Jurgarden, I think they were called, and we think it was like 4-1 over 2 legs or whatever it was. So the standard of the opposition hasn't been great. But one thing that has been kind of nice is, like, I've noticed that these smaller teams have kind of like glommed onto us. It's like an annoying younger sibling, as you might know from our childhood years. Of like, so now like FC Noah and Servette and all these randoms that we play.
FC Noah are great on Twitter.
Yeah. And they, like, every time we win, they're like, oh, congrats, Chelsea family. Like, they fucking love us. And every time, like, if anyone, good recommendation, everyone follow the Servette TikTok account because whoever their TikTok admin is, posts all these amazing memes. And every time, like, Chelsea win and Servette win the same scoreline, they always post like a meme of like a handshake. And I keep seeing this, like, it's a joke tweet of like, it's about the friends we made along the way. And that's I've now got a bit of an affinity for all these random clubs in the arse end of Europe that I never even knew existed before. So, but on the business end, it's one of those where a lot of the games you feel like the players have got to travel to the arse end of nowhere when you've got a big league game coming up against a team that you could probably put the kids out and win.
Yeah.
So sometimes you think it's an inconvenience, but then I start to think about it another way. This Chelsea team, this particular crop of players, if you forget the badge on the shirt for a second, it's the youngest Premier League team ever, and especially the youngest Premier League team to finish in the top 4. I don't think we didn't field a player over the age of 27 for the whole year, which is crazy when you think about it. I think our oldest player was Tosin, and he was 26 when we signed him.
Yeah, I guess Chilwell moved on at some point. Was he maybe older than 27? Maybe.
Yeah, I think he's like 29 now, perhaps.
Right,
I don't think he played a league game. And then you look across that team at what they've all achieved. You've got Enzo Fernandez, who's won a World Cup. You've got Reece James as a Champions League winner. And nobody else has really done anything with their career yet. Everyone's still in their infancy. So I attach a lot of importance to this competition. I think it's difficult because now we've done the big objective of get the Champions League. We've got that revenue secured and all the rest of it. And I don't want these players to take their foot off the gas because winning a trophy for this particular group, not for Chelsea as a club, the Conference League isn't that important, but for this group who we have effectively, and Todd Bowley said this in his interview that I mentioned, they've done their investing. They're going to look for opportunities as and where, but the bulk of their investment, they're saying, is kind of done. So they're betting on this group that they've chosen. These are the guys that are going to carry Chelsea for that's the vibe with this.
That's interesting.
So the importance of this team learning to win together and learning to get their hands on something and know what that feels like, I think it's massive. And I think it could really shape how we then approach going forward. If we bottle this final and we lost I think Carabao Cup final not the season just gone, the one before.
Yeah.
So again, you need to start getting your hands on some silverware if this team's going to go on to win the Premier League, win the Champions League. So I think on that front, I think it's a massive game for some of these players who actually, okay, they play for Chelsea, but they haven't actually done a great deal with their career yet.
Yeah, if you look at Caicedo, the amount of games he's had in his career, it's nothing compared to even like Yamin Lamal.
yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. So yeah, I totally get it. So obviously Chelsea are overriding favourites. Real Betis. Well, you'll be hoping that a certain Man United loanee doesn't do anything daft on the night of all players.
I mean, annoyingly as well, he's been on fire since he moved to Real Betis. I think he won goal of the season as well for La Liga today, which is crazy. And they've actually got, I was looking through their team, they've got a few familiar faces. So if you've watched, Premier League football the last few years.
Isco's captain, isn't he?
Isco's captain. Giovanni Lo Celso plays for him. Pablo Fornals, formerly of West Ham.
Bellerin's there, isn't he?
Yeah, Bellerin's there. Yeah, forgot about him. Managed by Pellegrini as well. So, and who's one of kind of Maresca's early mentors as well. Apparently, he got advice from Pellegrini about taking the Chelsea, like he was going to say no to it. But he rang him anyway and ran it by him. So, and Real Betis, they came sixth. They qualified for Europa League anyway through the league. They've had a good year. So again, probably the two teams who shouldn't be in this competition are the ones in the final. So we're not, although the level hasn't been great, this won't be an easy game, I don't think. It
costs Chelsea money, to be in this. Like they aren't making money. The prize money is insignificant in terms of, look at Wales, like what was the name of the team who you beat in the semis? Sorry,
Djurgårdens, I think they were
Djurgården. Them will be loving it at an extra £1 million or €1 million. That €1 million or 2.5, I think it will work out at, as Chelsea winning the whole competition.
Yeah,
it doesn't cover a week's wages for the squad that they're putting out.
No,
and then you start factoring in getting players to the arse end of Ukraine or God knows where else they're going to be. Playing it. It is costing Chelsea money to be in this competition, and the Europa League can be similar as well in terms of financials. I was listening to Kieran Maguire this week, and it is very much Champions League or bust in terms of making money.
Yeah, that's where the big money, and that's why this race for top four. And again, it comes back to what we're saying about things in the Premier League that maybe aren't as enticing, but the money is so big now because football's become this business.
Yeah,
if you don't get into those places, the consequences are huge, and they could go on for years.
Absolutely. So, what about Enzo Maresca? How do you assess his first season as a manager? Second season as a manager. First season with yourselves.
Yeah.
He's been a bit spiky in the media this week. Now, if you listen to this post-final, I'm sure he's been a lot more happy and jubbly and things are a bit more rosy. But if you listen to this in the build-up, he's been telling the media to F off, literally. Those were his words. And
I like it.
But at the same time, he was the one who had downplayed Chelsea's chances of sort of success this season. Or probably on purpose at the time when he's sort of quelling expectations, if you will, when Chelsea was second and third. Which you can sort of understand. But then for the media to run with that narrative and then him tell them to fuck off later on down the line. I mean, you've had your struggles, you've had problem positions and problem players, and certain things go on through the season. But how do you assess him and the role that he's played with this, like say, young squad?
Yeah, I've liked him. I was not very convinced when we made the appointment, simply because I didn't know. I'll say it wasn't just because I didn't know about him, because it was more of the fact that I feel that Chelsea have always done best when we've just got, like you said with Gyökeres, go for the proven option.
Yeah, don't get Conte. He wins title.
Yeah, exactly. He might be an arsehole to deal with, and he'll win the league and then want to quit, but you'll win something with him. So it's kind of, and I think it came off the back of frustration of you sack Thomas Tuchel, second most beloved Chelsea manager in recent history. You then go to Graham Potter and you go to Lampard, you go to Pochettino, who I could not have been more against hiring him. It was a terrible appointment. So then you get this guy, and then it's like, after all, it's like you go through all that bullshit and you kind of want that relief that, it's fine. This guy's in now. It's all going to be fine. It's more uncertainty. So I was a bit unsure, but I've really liked what I've seen from him. And I think there's a tale of two seasons almost in one. You had the early parts of the season where like you said, we were getting title shouts. The football we were playing was fucking brilliant. Cole Palmer was on fire. Him and Jackson were telepathic. He was getting the best out of almost everybody on the pitch. And like you said, it then started to, why can't Chelsea win it? And he rightly. And I think this is where the lack of patience has come in. In previous years, when Mourinho said things like this, like the famous, oh, it's a 3-horse race for the title. And he said, no, there's 2 good horses and 1 sick horse who's a baby who needs milk. And then he said, next year we'll win. And we fucking did, to be fair. But then when Maresca tries something similar, he doesn't have the same, he ain't got the same weight.
No, he's not got the charisma of a guy like, no.
But it's the same kind of principle.
Okay.
And so then all goes well. And then we had a horrible dip from December to like February, which we historically aren't great in that period anyway. And that's when we went from, we've got our Chelsea back, Maresca's name being sung in the stands, to he's clueless, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then you look at what's happened in this last run-in. We dropped 4 points to Ipswich this year. And you look at that would have almost got second.
Yeah.
If you pick those up near enough. I think we finished 5 points off you boys, so weren't far. So you look at games like that, and we lost. I think we dropped points to Ipswich, and then the run after that was Liverpool, Everton away, Fulham away. Horrible, horrible fixtures, and you're thinking, if you ain't beating Ipswich, you boys have fucked it. And he won every game apart from who did we lose to? We lost 1 game in that run. I think it was like we won 6 and lost 1.
Right.
And he did that by grinding out what I like to call proper Chelsea performances. Horrible 1-0 wins. Real defensive solidity. Robert Sanchez became, Christian Abiati overnight. I don't know what happened to him, but he went from a calamity to being a really safe pair of hands. So I think for a manager who's relatively inexperienced, he's handled a lot, and he's got the job done. He came 4th, which nobody gave him a chance of. It's funny because like you had the likes of Jamie Carragher and everyone giving us shit for celebrating our 4th place. And it's like, okay, I get it, because 4th isn't historically what you associate with Chelsea. But all of you also said that we wouldn't come in the top 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So we're either not good enough and we should celebrate it, or we're under, like, we can't be shit and not celebrate when we come 4th. Like, pick one. It can't be both. So yeah, overarching feeling on Maresca, his football is a bit boring. That's one thing I'll sort of sign off with. His football can be tough to watch. I went to the Newcastle game at St James's, and fuck me, it was hard to watch. That's a horrible ground anyway.
I think that has suffered when Cole Palmer's form fallen off a cliff a little bit second half of the season, and the whole team suffers when he isn't firing, because I think you mentioned it earlier, and we spoke about Caicedo, but he's had a really good season for Chelsea. Enzo Fernandez has been pretty decent. I'm going to say very much more consistent than what we've seen before.
Yeah, he's been really solid this year, I think.
And them two need to bounce off Palmer and whoever's playing in and around him, and Palmer needs to be the one pulling the strings. And when he is, Chelsea actually look fast and they look nimble and they look slick. And without that, it's very clunky going forward. And that's when you've been struggling to get it over the line in certain games.
Yeah. I think another kind of mental thing is the opposition will know that Palmer's our best player, and they think if he's on an off day, we can keep him quiet. And then it's a psychological advantage that you start to build.
Yeah. And it's almost like, it's not like you didn't have sort of backup with Nkunku and João Felix, and shit just didn't work. They've just not happened for you, and and like I've always been someone who's sort of been excited by João Felix, but it's just not happened for him twice.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. I think that was all just to facilitate Conor Gallagher getting at the club. I don't think there was ever a serious intention to get him in the team.
You could tell with the struggle. You could tell with the struggle it was to get it done, that it wasn't Chelsea's priority.
Yeah.
Even so, someone with his quality should have been able to maybe do a job, and especially pick up Cole Palmer's slack, who had put Chelsea on his back for the last 18 months. So I'm giving Chelsea a big advantage in this match, just in terms of swagger and confidence going into it. I think Betis may want it more, may do. Just from an outside looking in, I think their players will go onto the pitch wanting this more than the big boys of Chelsea. Like you said, even though he's talking about this group of players need it. I actually really agree with that point that Chelsea probably don't care about they've got the big trophy, which is Champions League qualification.
Yeah.
Todd Bowley doesn't really care about this trophy, but Levi Colwill will, and a Sanchez will, and a Caicedo will, and a Madueke will. Them players who you're planning on being with you for a long time, maybe not Sanchez, but but a big chunk of these players who you're planning on being with, will want it. But my feeling is that an Anthony is going to want to be like, this is the fucking moment.
Yeah, this is where I can rub it in everyone's fucking face and show everyone. And that's what I worry about. I worry that we've got the top 4, the big prize is in the bag, and we now don't, because if we'd have bottled it and come 6th or whatever, it's like, right, we've got to, or even if we dropped into Conference League again, which was possible, we'd have to win this, then there's so much more pressure on it. So it's one or two things, like the pressure's now off. Maybe they can just be a bit more relaxed and just have fun with it and maybe play better, or they could not take it seriously enough and go up against a really hungry group of players, which I think Betis had. So it won't be easy.
Where is the final?
It's in, I may not be pronouncing it right, like everywhere in Europe in Conference League. It's in Wrocław, which is in Poland. So I'm missing the final by about a week because I'm over in Poland next week.
Right. Well, by the time a good chunk of people listen to this, congratulations or commiserations, unlucky. To be honest, final bit on this, but I think if Chelsea don't win, the fact that you have got Champions League sewn up, I think it's swept under the rug pretty quickly and everyone moves on from this Conference League thing and we do it. If you win, it's another thing to rub in my face for a few weeks.
I bet the one other than like, the squad cohesion and all the rest of it, I do like the idea that, and we'll probably be the only team to ever do this, is win every single European trophy on offer, because everyone else who's got the other two probably won't be in this ever. I don't think so.
Especially with the way people don't drop down anymore. It's significant. And it makes me think I would put Crystal Palace as favourites for this. Oh, no, sorry. Nottingham Forest favourites for this competition next season. And by a long way.
If we win, I think Brighton get our place in the Conference League next year.
Oh, really? Right. Okay.
Yeah. Because our Europa League, because we would get Europa League place as a reward.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is the Premier League just gets an extra Conference League spot, so Brighton would be sneaking him.
Interesting, right? Well, then, unless they meet earlier in the competition, it's a Forest Brighton Conference League final next season.
Yeah,
they just don't see anyone coming close to whoever 8th place is in Bundesliga this season. I don't see him getting close to a Brighton.
No, I don't.
So let's finish on that with Chelsea. I'll ask you for a prediction.
A prediction. I'm thinking a 3-1 win for the mighty Chelsea. I think it, but I do think it will be a hard game. I don't think it's going to be easy.
I think it'll be a hard start, and I think Chelsea will eventually just pull away. 3-0, 3-1, 3-0 sounds about right. Let's talk, before we wrap it up, about the Champions League final, which is on Saturday. PSG v Inter Milan. Don't need to go into it too much, but I think probably the best two teams throughout the competition are in the final.
Yeah.
To be honest, and I'm not just saying this because we were in it, but any combination of that semi-final, from them semi-finals, being in the final, I genuinely think there were the 4 best teams left. There wasn't anyone who'd fluked the way up to the semi-final stage. So I think any combination from the semis into the final would have made that. I like that it's PSG and Inter because 2 very contradicting styles.
Mm-hmm.
Inter very well drilled, so hard to beat.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say? Well drilled, disciplined. They score a lot of goals for a team like that.
They just missed out on the league, didn't they? By a point, so 2 points rather. So
on the last day, PSG are very much the antithesis of. No, that's not the right word. The opposite.
No, antithesis. No, you had it right.
Of Inter Milan. I was trying to be clever and then I confused myself. They're very much the opposite of Inter Milan. Although still hard to beat if Donnarumma's on his game. He has been someone who's been called into question by PSG fans, especially at home as well in the league.
Ah, okay, interesting.
But in the Champions League, freak of nature. Yeah. Trossard must be seeing Donnarumma in his sleep because this guy was just on for 2 games, 90 minutes was just unbelievable.
That's the time to do it, isn't it? That's the time to turn up.
Dembele scored 35 goals since January, like a phenomenal record. They've got just a really good, really what's the word? A very cohesive team. Everyone works in the right way, and the star players are willing to do a bit of an extra shift. And Enrique isn't taking any prisoners with that team. I'm going to make PSG slight favourites, and I think I would like to see them win more because between PSG and Arsenal, we are the 2 most successful teams to have never won the European Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be the last one standing there. So I'd like PSG to go and do it.
Yeah, I think I would as well. I think it's nice that I think this might be the first, I think it is the first year that they kind of had a bit of an internal pivot on the way that they do things. They went from, right, we're going to stop signing the Neymars and the Messis and the Mbappes of the world. We're going to go a young French core with the likes of Barcola and Dembele. And that's what they're going to build the team around. And that it's nice to see that paying off for them because they always got a lot of stick, didn't they? With the Qatar money that they had, they just threw money at the wall and it would never worked. And now that they've kind of changed to be a bit more of a real football club, it's kind of working for them.
Funny how that works.
Who'd have thought?
But you're right though. A definite change. I remember when we beat them at the first. I think it was the second game week of the Champions League. Enrique dropped. I think Fabian Ruiz was suspended, and he also dropped Dembele for some disciplinary issues, and there was talk of Dembele being chucked out at that point. He hadn't started the season well.
Yeah.
And it was just Enrique saying, this is happening. This new PSG is happening, whether you look like it or not.
Yeah.
And he was willing to chuck Starman Dembele under the bus, and Dembele's clearly took it to heart and gone, right, watch this then. And had a season of his life. So I think if PSG win, it will be a better match.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I think
a sweaty into 1-0 is just not fun, is it? Nobody wants to see that.
But very, very good. The 2 teams who beat us this season in the Champions League are in the final. So I'm at peace with that.
Yeah, you don't mind losing to the eventual winner. That's
exactly. So I'm going for a PSG win. I think football wins if they do. But,
I agree.
Good luck to them both. And then we're going to be back, and then we're here hopefully with a European Cup for the FFP group.
Yeah. Yeah. Not exactly, but then we've completed the set then, and it's you know what? It's one of those like I'm treating this a bit like the Carabao Cup. I always want to win the League Cup, and I don't really know if it's because you've won a trophy in Feb, so then your season's instantly a success. I don't know what it is about it, but just win me that shitty cup.
Yeah,
bring it home, bring it in, get it in the cabinet. It's done then.
Again, and you can't, like I said, being swept under the rug. It's not. I just think you move past it. I don't think it's failure if you don't win it as well, because the eventual. It's going to be annoying for a couple of days. You might have to leave the WhatsApp group.
You know, I think that whoever Chelsea's first signing is being held back for if we lose. We need something to distract. A bit of good PR. Drop a big signing in there.
We need a buffer because these season tickets are going to take a hit. I have a problem with people saying it's a failure of a season, or you're a shit club if you haven't done if Chelsea don't win this, they aren't shit.
Yeah,
like Arsenal not winning the Premier League doesn't make us shit. No. Tottenham was shit and somehow won a cup.
Yeah, that is a shit club. That is a properly shit club.
You talk about failure all you want. We might have failed, or you might fail this weekend. But yeah, we'll get there. We'll discuss this. So we've got a big old episode next week. We're going to do our end of season awards. We're going to talk about goals and players and managers of the season, moments of the season. So if anyone's got any suggestions, do get in touch. Get on touch on X and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and wherever you want to find us. Scott, thanks a lot, mate. Good luck tonight.
Yeah.
And we'll catch up with everyone soon. Find all the details at fixingfootballpodcast.com. Like, share, and subscribe. Scott, thanks a lot, mate.
No worries.
Catch you all soon. See you, everyone.
See ya.